Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of my Man of Steel 2 script. Course at this point it has been called Dawn of Justice. I'm just going to keep it as this name. I might call it Dawn of Justice, I don't know, not something I'm thinking about this particular moment. Course, as we left off, Clark was of course checking out some of the fools and saying of course there's a bat type creature. This is of course on Clark's mind now, trying to figure out who this person is. At this point we now switch over to the night time where Superman does of course a save. Of course, as you want to see Superman doing his individual saves. Superman of course saves Lionel Luthor's life, as of course we can introduce him into the story now. And he's saved his life from an ex-worker at Luthor Corp. And of course Lionel then, after Superman saved him, Lionel said to him, of course the guy was crazy, this guy was literally chasing Lionel all around his building. With the guy basically comes off insane, but of course with the Luthors, it's not as simple as it seems. Of course Lionel there saying, I gave him the best medical treatment I could, but he couldn't be helped, the guy's insane. Superman at the point just believed him straight away, as of course if someone's in distress, you're going to believe them, you're going to help them. Of course Lionel, however, was lying, because the employee came across Lionel's top secret files on his computer. And of course Lionel didn't want anyone to find these because of his plans for the future, which of course I'm not going to go across because it'd be spoilers right now. Of course Lionel fired him, told everyone this guy was insane, and this guy actually got put in a mental asylum, like straight up put in a mental asylum. The guy was there saying, I'm not insane, I'm not insane. Of course when people say that, you just come off insane. Of course when you get put in a mental asylum and you're completely sane, it's obviously going to play on your mind, making you come off insane as well. Of course, I'm not going to get much detail into this, because I'm sounding a bit insane myself. Hey. Of course, Lionel there is ringing the police, ringing the army, as of course he's got close friends with the army as well. The squad could come in and help him, of course he pays them. It's that kind of world where you can pay the police. Afraid it is. It's the kind of world where the Luthors can do what they want. Of course, they couldn't get there in time, luckily Superman did. Superman there, of course, saved his life. People applauded, all that rubbish. Squad team arrived in the helicopter about 5 minutes afterwards. But like, of course, Lionel was already saved, as I mentioned. Lex, of course, rushed into the room saying about his father, gave him a hug. Of course, Lex, even though he hates his father, of course, if he ever died or anything like that, was in trouble, you would want him to be safe. It's just there. Even if you can't stand him, it's just there. The love is there. Of course, he thanked Superman, asked him to stay for a drink, shook his hand, all there. Of course, at this point in the film, when you're watching it, even there thinking, why is Lex, of course, shaking Superman's hand? Why am they friends? They're going to start off friends in this, obviously. Because at this part of the story, sorry about that, Superman and Lex, of course, they haven't met yet. They start off as friends, they fall out, and they, of course, become mortal enemies. Because this is basically pre-Superman and Lex, or free you could say. I'll get off subject. So Lex, of course, at this point is going to have full head of hair. Some people are going to like that, but of course you can explore the storyline of saying how Superman didn't save him in time and lost his hair. It's not a storyline I'm going to choose, but you'll see as it goes along. So yeah, Lex, full head of hair, ginger as well. I think he's ginger. I'm not sure if that was just in Smallville. To be honest, I don't pay attention to people's hair colours. Bigger thing to worry about. Of course, Lex, of course, was there mouthing off at the army, and I'm talking proper mouthing off, as of course this group was actually was part of their group, as it was all in this secret organisation. I say secret. He's got Lex, you got Lionel, you got loads of government members, loads of soldiers. The general from the first film, they're all in it, as of course this will be shown in the next couple of minutes. Of course, the soldiers were there saying, watch your tone. The general was there saying, Lex, to shut up, all this. Lex, of course, being bullied by these, as he's one of the founding members of this group of organisation that tries to benefit the world. Of course, Lex is there saying, my father's done a lot for this city, and he almost died tonight because you people wouldn't get here in time. How much are we paying you people? Lionel, of course, stopped them both arguing. The general then turned to Superman while he had him there on his attention. He says, Superman, we need to talk. Of course, Superman there laughing around saying, General, I've already told you I'm one of the good guys. And then of course the general replied with, I know, but this is about something different. Superman got in the helicopter with the general and Lionel and Lex. Of course it'd be easier for Superman to fly, but you know, you have to put your feet up sometime. They of course flew across America, around about the middle of the USA, in the desert land, and they went to this underground base. I'm talking somewhere around about Area 51. It's something along the lines of that way it's hidden out the way and no one can find it, even though you can find Area 51 on Google. Yeah, you think I'm joking, actually go and check. It's completely insane. It's completely mad. Superman was unsure whenever to go in, but of course, with all the soldiers and everything, he went straight in. They walked straight into the room. There was a massive table with about 20 seats, all people in suits, all people standing around the room with guns, so many different people. He says, Superman, I believe, take a seat. What we're about to tell you stays in this room, which of course came from the commander. The room was filled with people with many talents, as I've just said, of course, intelligence, fighting abilities. They, of course, wanted recruited Superman to this cause, as of course he would definitely benefit the world, and of course they believed in him. Lex also wanted this as well, but of course nothing is ever the same with Lex, nothing's ever simple. They was around this table, and the one man pointed out how they've been tracking down this man for over a decade, but they can never capture him. They've sent in their best squad teams to capture him. They've had no luck. He always escapes. This man is heavily trained. He has many resources. He once sent in a team of the 20 best men. That's his 20 best men. They had no luck. He then sent the 20 best men in the world. I'm talking the top 20 fighters in the world. One of them, of course, could be Deathstroke, to point at expanding the universe. Of course, they had no luck. They're saying that this is basically Code Red. We're dealing with the most dangerous man alive. At this point, you're obviously thinking, what man am I on about? Can't be Lex's in the room. They said to him then and there, Superman, you're going to have to kill him. At this point, they're of course using Superman straight up as a weapon, and Superman not the happiest about that because he's vowed not to kill. And he never will again. Hopefully, in the series. Wasn't too happy with the first kill he did, but he had no choice. Of course, Superman replied with saying, kill him, you must be joking. You said it yourself, this man is the most dangerous man alive. He must be captured. And turns out that's actually Lex that said that, if you believe it or not. You hear it off the side of the screen and it then switches to Lex. The commander replied with saying, captured is not enough, we must kill him. Superman jumped in and said, I will not kill the man. Lex, of course, saying, the lot of you cannot be serious. This man may be a threat to all of us. Kill him is too much, just one man. Of course, the commander jumps in and saying, Mr. Luthor, that's enough. Remind me why you're here again. Lex replies with saying, this whole group was my idea. Bring the best minds in the world together. Bring justice to the world. This is my own league. Of course, this is the start of a Justice League, if you believe it or not. Bunch of people around the room. Loads of intelligence, loads of fighting skills. It's early starts to it. Of course, I know you're thinking Justice League with a bunch of people not even superior. Well, not superior to the people that's going to be in it. But it's going to be a start, and of course, Superman's going to take it over for himself. You might think that sounds crazy now, but as we're good for the story, it does actually work out quite well. I like the sound of it. Of course, Lex is there mouthing off. Lionel says to him, silence. Lex stood up in anger, as of course he's had enough of these people at this point, and he's really showing his anger. Lex said that the lot of you are a disgrace. You disagree with me time after time when it comes down to stuff like this. The commander there said to him, Mr. Luthor, why don't you tell us the real reason you're here? Lex replies with saying, I'm here to make sure everyone is safe. Of course, the commander replies, if you can do that without your input. Lex sat down with anger. Superman butted in saying, I agree with Mr. Luthor, killing this man is too much. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this my way. Of course, Lex and Superman getting a bit of a bond going on there, as of course Superman only agrees with Lex in the room. It's the first step to their friendship. Of course, Lex is very sneaky. The president then said, that's the way we're going to do it. Of course, as he walked into the room, out of the blue, everyone stood up. President said, again, if that's the plan, that's how it shall be done. Everyone agreed. At this point, they all went up and shook the president's hand. Lex went across to Superman, said to him, you know why they want you to kill him? Because you're the only one that can. Don't trust these people. Superman replied with, what do you mean? Lex said to him, "These people have secrets upon secrets. I know they use criminals to capture other criminals, and at the end of it they don't care who dies as long as the mission is complete." Of course, going straight to the Suicide Squad, hinting that. He said to him, "Don't trust them, especially when it comes to my father. That man can talk his way out of any conversation." Superman fought back to, of course, when the ex-worker attacked Lionel and wondered if he was telling the truth about him being mentor. Of course, Superman there looked at Lex as a friend and Lionel as the foe. Of course, then they're slowly building that relationship. Superman said to him, "I trust they would do the right thing." Lex replied with, "You know this Batman we're hunting? We recruited him years ago because we thought he'd be a great asset to the team. But straight away the man picked up on everything. He hacked into their files, found out the dirty little secrets. The information that man has is a threat to us all, and that's why they want him dead. Me, I just want him captured and hope that the gentleman will keep his mouth shut. However, I doubt his will, and that brings me on to my second point. As you can see by this Batman, it's not the easiest thing leaving this group, so you may want to think twice before joining." When Lex created his speech there. Everyone gathered around the table. The commander said, "Before we leave, when this Batman next strikes, we need you, Superman, to be there ASAP." Superman, of course, replied with saying, "I will." Everyone went their different ways, and at that point, Clark was curious about Lionel and went to the mental asylum to talk to the ex-employee. He went and talked to him, and the employee said to him how Lionel plans to become mayor and plans to find out Superman's weakness. Of course, this straight away was very concerning for Clark, how someone's trying to find a weakness for Superman and kill him. But with Lex becoming mayor, he was very curious about that. Of course, the man came across completely crazy. Of course, he was in a mental asylum, of course. At this point, when the man got real into the details, the guard came over and said to Clark that it's time for him to leave. Clark was concerned about this and thought how maybe the guard was in on it too, as of course it looked a bit dodgy at the time when he was just getting to the real details. Clark went home, went to sleep worried about who he could trust, and worried about Lionel. The scene changed to Lionel walking into Lex's mansion. "Lex, I was wondering if I could borrow your mansion for the day." Lex replied with saying, "What for?" And of course, Lionel replied with, "We're hosting an interview with Superman, and what better way to do it than create a new friendship over the TV, and of course in our own home." Lex was straight up angry, furious. He did not want this at all. Of course, with Superman would be there, he'd be up all for it. But he said to him, "You've got to be joking, right? This alien isn't stepped foot in here. I can't stand the guy." Lionel there laughing, saying, "Oh, come on, son, we can't say no, he's already accepted." Lex is there saying, "You've asked him without my permission." And then, of course, Lionel there putting the final nail in there to the blow. "Lex, you seem to be forgetting that this is my house as much as it is yours. I pay for everything here. The interview's next Wednesday at 7 PM. Hope to see you there." At that point, we point out that Lionel does own everything in the Lex Corp, owns Lex's house. Lex is just living there, of course. At this point, Lex, of course, wants more power. He wants more of the company for himself, and as you read in the comics, he goes to some serious lengths to get as much power as he could. Clark and Lois went out to dinner with the rest of the work team, of course, Perry White and all them. But of course, at that point, at the worst timing, just as basically Clark and Lois having a romantic dance, you could see getting really close. The alarm went off, so of course Clark had to slip away. Of course, he flew over to the base where the governments were, and they said that Batman has been spotted breaking into an army base. Of course, Clark, of course, he said he's going to go and take him down. Batman, of course, used his stealth to break into this army base, take down soldiers one by one, of course not causing any harm to them, just basically knocking them out. The alarm was about to go off, but he had a coding from this satellite beaming down which blocked it out. Of course, it also turned out all the lights in the area so Batman could work in darkness, being the ninja he is. Of course, Batman downloaded all the information about Kal-El and noticed that he looked around the room. There was loads of weapons, but in some cases there was weapons missing. Like basically there wasn't all being hung up. So there was about 20 places the weapons could be. There was only about 8 of them there. Clearly loads are missing. And he was thinking about it. Back at the meeting, the general was contacted by his guards saying that someone's hacked into the files, taking everything about Kal-El. The general was wondering why someone as skilled as Batman didn't disable all of the alarms. because however one still got out to them. He was wondering what kind of game Batman is playing. Is he trying to bring Superman into it? What's he trying to do exactly? Of course, Superman flew over to the general saying what was happening. Of course, the general said to him, "It's go time, get over there." As Superman was about to fly off, all the people was in the room then again. Lex said to him, "Be careful, Cal, you don't know who you can trust." Superman flew off. He of course landed in the base looking around for this bat thing. He walked around the corner and suddenly there straight away, walking out of the smoke was Batman, standing there. And of course this is the first time you see his full costume. And he looks absolutely amazing. Of course they started to talk and then they started to argue. Superman was angry that this man was trying to find a way to kill him. Batman responded with, "I'm not trying to kill you." Of course they started to argue more. Superman said to him, "I've been given orders to bring you in." Batman replied with saying, "I'm afraid that's not going to happen, now keep out of the way." Batman turned around and went to walk off, but Superman put his hand on Batman's shoulder. Batman grabbed his hand and thrown him over his shoulder and he flipped all the way down the hall. Batman stood up saying, "You know, lately I haven't been myself. I haven't been sleeping. I've been angry and careful that I don't break everything I touch. I've been tiptoeing around this world carefully so that no one gets hurt, so don't push me. Now are you going to come with me or not?" Batman replied with saying, "I'm not." At this point Superman replied saying, "Then I am sorry for this." Batman answered with saying, "Don't apologise, you're not sure if you're going to win yet." At that point they just stared at each other side by side inside this base. Long corridor. Batman suddenly went bang, flew straight down the hall, hitting Batman, knocking him down the corridor. They're of course starting to fight, battering each other. Batman was there trying to punch him. Of course, Superman was just blocking it, dodging out of the way and moving side to side. Superman was there like throwing one punch, knocking him all the way down. At that point, Batman threw smoke bombs containing traces of lead. Quick note here saying that I've chosen to have traces of lead in the smoke. That way Superman wouldn't actually be able to see through it. It's an idea I thought of. Of course, he could be able to see through the smoke, of course, because he's got many different types of vision. But he cannot see through lead, so if you have traces of lead in the smoke, he wouldn't clearly be able to see through it. Of course, that way Batman could hide in the shadows and do ninja attacks and all this. Superman grabbed Batman whenever he could and started throwing him through walls. And of course, they broke into the room where Batman downloaded the information. And of course, Superman looked around and noticed there was pictures of him all on the walls, noticed there was weapons, noticed there was computers on. And he noticed how this room was basically designed to figure out a way to stop him. At this point, they was fighting each other and they accidentally broke one of these containers and green gas leaked into the air and they breathed it in and they both started to cough. Batman ran while he had the chance, of course. Superman followed him. Batman went to dive out a window, of course. Batman tackled him out and they landed out in the big opening training area. They was there fighting each other while coughing. Batman started throwing punches at Superman and Superman of course fighting back. Soldiers came up with guns, surrounded the two of them. Superman said don't shoot, of course being the good guy, don't kill. He's got it under control. Batman dropped smoke pellets, of course grappled out there. Superman just about saw him, flew up, grabbed him, and of course he flew 200 feet up into the air holding Batman by his neck. Of course Superman was there holding him, started to cough really badly. Batman said to him, "You look ill, Cal." Of course at that point Superman's eyes started to shut and he just started to fall while holding on to Batman's neck. Of course at this point Superman became unconscious and Batman was there trying to pry Batman's fingers off his neck. Of course he was trying to bend metal, trying to move his fingers. Of course he just about got out of his grip and glided away. As Superman was falling by himself face first towards the ground, he opened his eyes just about and landed on the floor, while of course knocking through a couple of sand hills like that. The army came and helped Superman and told him how Batman broke in there. Of course the soldiers got him up and they had to give him a helicopter back over to the base, as of course he wasn't fit to fly. As he says, he felt ill, he kept coughing on this gas. Superman of course returned to the base and he was absolutely furious while the general had this information about him in this room. Kept saying that, "Why have you got weapons designed to kill me? I'm not your enemy." Of course the general replied saying, we made them before we didn't know you, we'd never consider using them on you now. Of course Superman replied with saying, "Then why are they still around?" The general stood there in silence. Lex, of course, there butted straight in as this was his perfect opportunity, saying, "I told you not to trust this guy, Superman. A lot of them can't be trusted." At that point, the general said, "Mr. Luthor, what are you doing here?" And then Lex just there in anger, saying, "I think it's about time you tell this man the truth." Of course, people then went to a vote, saying, "I vote Mr. Luthor leaves immediately," says the general. But of course, Superman butts in and he just stares at him and says, "I vote he stays." Of course, everyone goes silent, and Superman says, "What's the truth?" Lex there says how they've been using a face recognition software to try and work out who he really is. Superman says, "Is this true?" Of course, the general replies with saying, "Yes, but it's only because we needed to be prepared. We would have never told anyone your true identity." But of course, now Batman has his true identity. But that's of course if the face recognition actually got it, which we don't know. Of course, Superman there replied with anger, saying, even if you would have my identity, you don't need to send it out now, because Batman has broke into your base, got every single detail about me on your system, and he's out there with my personal details. Lex, of course, told Superman not to trust these people, and now Kal looked as Lex as a close friend. Superman there bought into the people and said, "I would take down this man and jail him, but I'll never be a part of your so-called Justice League." Superman there, of course, flew off. Of course, they tried to get Superman to join the Justice League, well, their Justice League as they call it. Don't know who thought of the idea. But of course, in the comics, it was obviously probably Superman or something, but in this, of course, he was probably the president, something like that. Probably been nice that the president thought of the idea. Of course, there we have Superman flying off, saying he's never going to be part of the Justice League, which of course him there thinking, what? But of course, it's all part of the plan. Batman, of course, got home, and Alfred noticed that he had loads and loads of injuries on his body. He had like bruised bones, bruises all over his body, slightly fractured bones, what I meant to say. And of course, at the same night as well, Lois noticed that Clark was coughing in his sleep. The next day, of course, Superman was time to receive his award from Lionel at the mansion. They did it out in the garden. The press was there, the crowd was there, everyone went to see Superman. Of course, Lex was there, Lionel was there, and of course Lionel gives Superman the award. Superman, of course, accepted it, smiled for the camera, all the usual stuff. At this point in the distance, a sniper was aiming at Lionel and shot. Of course, Superman darted away, caught the bullet, flew over to where the sniper was, picked him up and brought him over to the police. Of course, everyone clapped, Superman smiled, everyone, of course, they're happy, saving people, the kind of stuff that you see. The kind of little saves that needs to be put in. Superman, of course, accepted the award, but of course he was coughing while I was taking photos. And at that point, his eyes started to go weird again. And then, of course, he stumbled around, and of course he just passed out on the floor. His head hit the floor and the screen went black. At this point, he woke up in a bed and looked around the room and noticed that Lex was sitting right next to him.